Good morning. Welcome to Daybreak. I'm the Sultan of Silver. The morning show where I talk about what I want. I crawl like a viper through these suburban streets, make love to these women, languid and bittersweet. I rise when the sun goes down, cover every game in town, a world of my own. I'll make it my home sweet home. Steely Dan, 1977. Something clicked inside of me when I heard this. I was watching Joe Rogan interview Dan Pena about President Donald Trump. Pena says about Trump, he wins because he doesn't know how to lose. Doesn't know how to lose. That kept me awake for days. Playing to win, not to lose. Failure is not an option. You go into it without a plan B, without an emergency parachute, without an escape plan. You go in to win. Top performers always do that. I'll never forget hearing an interview with Michael Chang, the tennis player. They talked to him about losing. He says, I only play to win. He didn't even want to talk about losing. That blew me away at my age of being closer to 60 than 50. It blew me away. Play to win. We hear that all the time, play to win. But when you think about it, do you go into things thinking that you might fail? I've done that in the past. No longer. I went to bed last night at 8:20, according to my phone. I track my sleep. 8:20, I was in bed. And I got calls at 8:47, so I was sound asleep when those calls came in. Got up this morning at about 3:37 and still got a good night's sleep. I will be super productive. Right now, what time is it? It's actually late for this broadcast. It's 5:45 right now. I have to get a lot of work done today. I have to go to the salon and do some hair and beards, come back and pack for the trip to Florida and the speaking tour and doing the podcast hosting for about 29 different shows in a 1-week period. That's going to be a busy week. I'm looking forward to that. Fit a workout in. If I can't get to the gym, then it's going to be push-ups, dips. It'll be, I like doing squats all the way down where my ass almost touches the floor. I want to keep the knees and the joints totally flexible. There's a lot of people who, when they do squats, they go down to a bench where their butt hits a bench. And I get that because you can easily blow out a joint. I don't use super heavy weights anymore. And I don't put a bar across my back and back of my neck. I don't do that. I will take dumbbells and hold dumbbells like this, and then I squat down. My legs are apart. My legs are at about shoulder width, and my feet are pointed out like this. And I try to keep everything flat. I used to put my heels like on a 2x4, something a little bit elevated. I don't do that anymore. And I squat all the way down to, like I said, where my butt's almost touching the floor, and then just explode back up. Come back down, explode back up. Love that. And I can do that at home. Observation, those who retire early usually start looking like crap. I believe we were meant to be productive right up until the end. Being productive is attractive. I don't know who retires and just does nothing. I know a lot of blue-collar people who, quote-unquote, put their time in. It's like, I worked hard all these years, now I'm going to relax. I don't know if that's a good thing, I'll be honest with you. I've watched too many people die quick because they relaxed. The average person lives 7 to 9 years after retirement. Why do you want to retire? What the hell? Do something different. If you've been using your body for 20, 30, 40 years, start using your head. I've learned to hate the phrase that I usually hear from older folks, people that are older than me. There's always something to do around here. You ever hear people saying that? Like they're living on a friggin' 5,000-acre ranch. It's a damn house and a yard. Oh, there's always something to do around here. Enough already with the always something to do. And I know people that that putter around and really screw things up and then have to fix the things that they screwed up. That's not being productive. That's just idle mind is the devil's workshop. That's all that is. The subscribers, followers, likes, hearts, and thumbs up social media culture has created a false currency because subscribers, followers, likes, hearts, and thumbs up don't pay the bills. They don't buy you the vacation home, the RV, the motorsports, the good medical care. What really matters is your revenue. Enough of this humble nonsense. The people who argue with me about stuff like this are broke as shit, can't support anyone except themselves, or just barely supporting themselves. Revenue is the key. I've got 3 children and 2 aging parents. So I'm pretty darn motivated. If you realize that the people that are around you need you, you're going to realize how selfish you are by saying, I'm happy with what I make. I'm happy with what I'm doing. You don't need that much money. Money's evil. That's greed. Okay? Right there. I know I'm off on a roll this morning, but some people yesterday were just torquing me up, man. It's selfish. Selfish. You were meant to create so much more than you are now. But you can't fix stupid. And 20%, it's the 80-20 thing. 80% will go the way of the mainstream, 20% will rise above. The air changes at about 4 a.m. You can feel it and smell it. I know I wake up between 3:30 and 4:30, somewhere in there, depending on what time I go to bed. And I usually have to rip the covers off me because I start getting hot at about 3:30, 4:30. I don't know what that's all about. I just feel warmer, and then I feel the air coming in the window starting at about 4. And the air is usually cooler and it's got a cool smell to it. Something changed. It goes from night and becomes the next day. It literally is like, I start feeling like it's the next day. Not after midnight, it's technically the next day after midnight. But I really feel like the day starts. It's the new day starting and a new atmosphere rolling in at about 4 a.m. People say, how do you get up at 4:30? How do you do that? First of all, I've always said that, I listen to nature's alarm clock. I have the alarm on my phone set for 5:59. but I get up at 4:30. I wake up. And then I put reminders on my phone after 6 o'clock of different things that I might need to attend to. So what matters is revenue. How many people load up the shopping cart, whip out the credit card, and check out is the metric. Not likes, thumbs up, subscribers, and followers. We're walking out of a Vietnamese restaurant, dude down the sidewalk puffing on a Rocky Patel vintage 1999. And I know that aroma very well. She says to me, "Oh, I love the smell of good cigars and pipes." I'm just grinning ear to ear. Check that one off. This one could be a keeper. The interesting thing about meeting women in their 50s is this. They've encountered the wall 20 plus years ago. And what you see now is the true her. There's not a lot that's going to change. When you look at a 25-year-old girl, I can guarantee you in the next 25 to 30 years, she's not even going to look the same. You won't even recognize her if you could take a time machine into the future. So by the time you are in your 40s and 50s, women are pretty much, this is for guys obviously, women are pretty much what they're going to be. There's not a lot that's going to change. But a lot is going to change from 25 to 50. A lot. Night and day. And I always say this, how they look now is a window into how they dealt with the past decade in their life. How you look now is the result of what you've done in the past 10 years. If you look like shit right now, the reality is you probably didn't exercise and you didn't eat well for the past 10 years. Fortunately, you can turn that around quite quickly if you do the right thing. I think all fathers, no matter how old, want to see their kids more, no matter how old those kids are. I have 3 children and I want to see them more. And I don't care if it's for 5 minutes. I don't care if it's sitting down and having a cup of coffee with them. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to be a big, long, drawn-out dinner or event or occasion. Give me 10 minutes with either one of my sons or my daughter, and I'm happy. That makes my day. Think about that. Your parents want to see you. If your parents are alive, your parents want to see you. You get to the point in life where your parents become your friends, and they're no longer parents. And there becomes a role reversal, and you start checking up on them, seeing how they're doing. Are you doing all right? Is everything all right? How's your health? Are you sleeping okay? You start asking your parents that. You find that they stop asking you that, and then there's several years of silence and cruise control. And then you have to start asking them. If you're not a narcissist and the world doesn't revolve completely around you and you still have some heart left, then you start asking about your parents and putting aside all the bullshit that you held against them. I spent so much of my life really disliking my father. When I was younger, I hated him. I actually went for counseling as a teenager, secretly because of that. Got me off on a wrong foot. I always thought that, like, my dad was the worst person to have kids. I couldn't think of a worse person to have kids. Did not have a storybook childhood or teenage years. But now I love my dad. And I care about him. And I want to spend time with him because I know my time is limited with him. Great sex, workouts, bodies, mental clarity, good sleep, healing from injuries, public image, game, attitude, all begins in the kitchen, what you put in your mouth. Self-protection is your responsibility. Translation is, don't ever unprotect yourself or your loved ones because of manufactured gun-free zones or weapon-free zones. Assess and manage the risk before shit hits the fan. It's your responsibility to protect you and your loved ones, not law enforcement. They respond to shit already going down. Only you can prevent shit going down. Never ever go to a gun-free zone, ever. There's certain fitness places, I won't say their name. No guns allowed here. Gun-free zone. Chipotle, gun-free zone. If I was going to do something dastardly and evil, I'd go to a gun-free zone because I know it'd be just a shooting range. God forbid anyone try to pull any shit if I am around. Because I'm from the generation of men that run to chaos, not cower underneath a table. And we assess the risk like that. Like when I go to a restaurant, she knows better than to put me with my back against people. If she's leading the way, I'll never forget her saying, "Oh, I forgot, you like to sit with your back against the wall." And I do, because I want to see everything. Am I like a paranoid prepper? No, not at all. Not at all. I'm the gray man. I'm the guy you least expect. If you're going to threaten anything or anybody, I am the ninja that creates lights out for you before you even know it. That's what I want you to be in your life, in your family, in your surroundings. Be prepared for everything, physically, financially, nutritionally. Never ever go to a gun-free zone. Never. Restaurant, conference center, concerts, churches, business, never, ever, ever. Police only respond with cameras and body bags. They cannot protect you. So here's a great news flash. You protect you. Gee, what a concept. My grandmother is in her 80s and still doesn't need glasses. She drinks right out of the bottle. Henny Youngman. The first year after a marriage or a long-term relationship ends is always unstable for a man. He may bed down a dozen women, but his heart is still very fragile. How many women you invite to your bedroom is not a metric of how well you are doing. You still need to recover. It takes money to make money. Wrong. It takes courage and a little bit of crazy to make money. 70% of the fortunes made in the past 50 years were made by people who brought nothing to the table but risk. Never ever be a victim if you can help it. Every potential perpetrator needs to know that they picked the wrong target, the wrong house, the wrong zone. And they need to know it quickly. It's now the last quarter of 2018. The rest of the year is going to fly by, but think about what movement you can make, the pounds you can lose, the phone calls you could make. If motion is not encouraged now, once November 1st gets here, you're going to be done for the year. The fastest 3 months of the year, fastest 3 months, October, November, December. But once November 1st gets here, whoosh, the year is done. Momentum is defined as mass in motion. All objects, people, and relationships have mass. If they're moving, they have momentum. When there is momentum, that entity is hard to stop. Momentum is the single most reliable predictor of the lifespan of the mass in motion. When you get momentum, you are hard to stop. There's an unstoppable element to you. When you're going down a water slide, halfway down the water slide, try to stop. You can't, because your weight is just pulling you down that slide. That's a beautiful thing. If it's a water slide to success, that's where momentum is a good thing. If you are on a trajectory of failure and discouragement and disappointment, which can also happen, that would really suck. That's why when older people look at younger people and they identify that that person is on a bad trajectory with attitude, with how they approach life, this is where young people disrespect older people. And older people a lot of times will just say, screw it, let them fail. Let them go down. They're going to have to, you know what they say? He's going to have to learn the hard way. And many do. I'll never understand women. My wife will kiss the dog on the mouth, but won't drink from my glass. Rodney Dangerfield. Today's coffee is a mixture of Sumatra, Guatemalan, and Ethiopian, and the flavor is amazing. I haven't blended a lot of coffee beans. I've been getting all of their flavor profiles and tasting them black and with cream and with a little cream and sugar and different methods and varying things. And I've never blended coffees. Today's the first time that I blended something, and I'm loving it. My first cup of the day is always a bulletproof cup of coffee, which means I put a little bit of ghee, which is it's butter without the milk fat. Look up ghee. It's spelled G-H-E-E. And it's like butter on steroids. It's like if you like the flavor of butter, you're gonna love ghee. I get mine at Whole Foods. And I say once you go to ghee, it's really hard to go back to butter. So my first cup is always bulletproof coffee, and then I take the rest of the coffee and I put it like in a thermos. And I will be pouring that coffee with just a little bit of cream in this cup. My first cup is always bulletproof though. And I would like you to subscribe to a newsletter of a very influential man that I follow and who is a fan of mine. He's 63 years old. His name is P.D. Mangan. And his entity is called Rogue Health and Fitness. I'm going to put a link for it down below. Subscribe to his newsletter. It will change your life in the same way that it's changed my life. This stubborn old boy, but open to change. It'll work for you too. Have a great day, everybody. Be productive. This year is going to go by fast. Let's